Good morning. It's Facebook Friday and we're live. Thanks so much for joining us. I don't have my music today. The kids are using the iPad and they left it somewhere, so I'm not sure where it is. So we'll have to make our own music. Bum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, bum, ba-da-da-dum. Today on Facebook Live, we are talking about mind over matter, debilitating back pain. My debilitating back pain, not yours. Last week on Facebook Friday, we talked about why you need new. It was about brain habituation and what happens when the brain experiences persistent, consistent nerve stimulus. Marissa, thanks for joining us. Hey, welcome to Facebook Friday. The brain gets accustomed to repetitive inputs. And if those inputs aren't threatening or don't change, if they're consistent, then the brain becomes accustomed to it. It can also be true that the brain gets accustomed to pain and the input from pain. So I would just like to say, if you don't get enough new, that is new stimulus, new brain input, that's the right word, your brain just may create the input for you. So just to let you know, BODYWISE broadcast Tuesdays and Fridays. Tuesday is tip day, Fridays is live also, and that's 9:30 PST both times in the morning. To follow BODYWISE and get notifications, press the follow button on the live videos and choose to opt into notifications. Next, shout outs to all those participating in the Susan B. Komen cancer events this weekend in Seattle. There will be people walking. I'm excited to shout out to the Sammamish rowing crew. They will be rowing for the cure on Sunday morning in a regatta. Hey Lance, thanks for joining us. The regattas usually happen really early in the morning. I think the regatta on the South Lake Union will be starting at 7:30. So for all of those early birds out there who want to get a great look, please feel free to go down to South Lake Union and cheer on Sammamish rowing. They are rowing for the cure on Sunday. I would like to mention that today's information, mind over matter, has to do with pain. Yesterday, I was pulling the receipts out of my purse. I was kneeling on the floor. That's not unusual for me. Both my feet and my knees were on the floor. And when I was done with getting the receipts out, I leaned forward to put my wallet back in my purse, and sharp, shooting, debilitating pain happened in my back on the right side. I am not new to pain, so when I experienced this pain, the first thing I thought was, oh no, here we go again. I could not get up off the floor, interestingly enough. My mind was desperate to figure out what set of muscles were being the problem, contributing to the problem, what set of muscles I could turn on to prevent the pain from continuing. And I needed to breathe for a few minutes. Interestingly enough, just before that happened, my mind was going through some thoughts about my business, and I was preparing for a meeting later that morning with a financial planner, and I discovered I may not have completed some information that was required for that meeting. So I was feeling uncomfortable in that moment, that I put the wallet back in my bag, and it was that same moment of discomfort and not feeling like I had it all together that I experienced the back pain. Isn't that interesting? Coincidence? Not sure. Scientific American wrote an article about pain and the mind. The article talks about a guy named Dennis Rogers, who's considered the strongest man in the world. The strongest man in the world is shown in an image on that web page holding two airplanes, preventing two airplanes from taking off in opposite directions, which is really fascinating. considering the kinds of experiences that people have, one would imagine that the pain from trying to prevent two aircraft from taking off would be overwhelming and would prevent him from holding them. Very fascinating. What the study also showed was that Dennis Rogers recruits more muscles when he uses his muscles than the average person. It's not that he has more muscle, and it's not that his muscles are special in any way. In fact, the article mentions that he also is known to pick up a car engine, an engine block out of a car with one hand and unscrew the spark plugs with the other hand. That's pretty phenomenal. Dennis Rogers shares that he's afraid of dentists, and in one of his acts of amazing feats of strength, he was preventing 4 Harley Davidsons from leaving, from driving away. And he bit down so hard he broke a tooth. Now, being afraid of dentists, that's fascinating. One would imagine that he would go to a dentist to get his tooth repaired, except Dennis chose not to do that. Dennis chose to reach in his mouth and pull the tooth out himself. Dennis says that that the pain he experiences from his own body that he goes through is something that he can ignore. He can anticipate the pain, and he chooses to ignore it. And he hasn't sustained any injuries, interestingly enough, according to the article. But he says going to a dentist, he cannot control the pain, and he cannot anticipate when something will be painful or when something won't be painful. So this is fascinating. There is a quote in the article that says, we are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. That's a quote from Seneca. So illusion and pain, interesting concepts to think about, because I'm certain that Dennis Rogers has experienced more intense stimuli of pain than I have. But yesterday I experienced pain that was so difficult, so painful, it was difficult for me to get up and to stand up straight. In fact, it persisted for several hours. And I called a friend of mine who happens to be intuitive, and I asked her some questions about it. And as soon as she tuned into my experience, I felt a decrease in that pain. Now that's strange. A friend of mine, I called to ask her about this pain that I was experiencing, just reached out with her mind to look at the pain, I guess. I don't know how it happens, how it works. Intuitives are an odd bunch. And I felt a decrease in my experience of that pain. So what is going on with pain? Why can Dennis Rogers experience so much pain and essentially ignore it and not sustain injury? And why did I bend over to put a wallet back in my purse and experience crazy debilitating pain? They say that pain is a variation. It's a function of mood, a function of attentiveness, and the circumstance that you're in. So pain is now being qualified as an emotion. And if it's true that pain is an emotion, and we experience emotions based on what's happening around us, then I can deduce that pain is really just a construct of my mind, something that I'm creating. My husband would be the first to share with you that I tend to be a very emotional person. And if it's true that pain is an emotion and I have complete control over my emotions, then it's true that I have complete control over my pain. And as a matter of fact, since reading the article about Dennis Rogers regarding pain on Scientific American, feel free to look it up yourself, I have experienced less pain. So is that really I'm experiencing less pain, or my imagination is making it up or decreasing it? Marissa, thanks. It is very interesting how the mind works. The mind is very powerful, and they say we use only about 20% of it. So let's all try to increase the amount of brain power that we have, and consider pain in our lives, what pain comes from, where it stems from, and if it really is just an emotion, that means we can choose to experience it or not. Thanks for joining BodyWise Bodywork. That's enough for today. Shout outs to my cousin Jane in Syracuse, New York, who's listening this morning. Hey, Jane. Shout out to Lance Loke, Lauren. Thanks, Lauren, for listening. I appreciate it. And all the rest of the friends out there. Please let me know how you experience pain in the comments below. Tell me what kinds of pain you've experienced. Tell me what you do for it. And tell me what new things you will start doing for it based on the fact that pain is an emotion. For now, think head-wise, feel heart-wise, and move yourself body-wise. That's it for this week, and I'll see you next Tuesday.